Hello and welcome to another episode of Corgi Town USA. I am Candy. In my lap is Chuckles, our spokescorg.
I am Catherine, and outside of the studio to make it safe is my Corgi, Digby, and my honorary Corgi, Calabria.
Yes, so Cat rescues and fosters, and that's the newest foster fail.
She's not a foster fail.
Okay.
She's not a foster fail because I specifically picked her and her babies because I knew I was going to keep her.
You adopted her.
I knew I was
Straight
going
up
to
adoption.
adopt it.
Okay.
Right. It's a straight up adoption.
Excellent.
It just involved fostering the puppies,
Her babies.
her babies.
Yeah. Well, we also have Mortimer Barnabas, and then, of course, little Tito Bandito, the baby of the family of the Corgi Committee, and my little senior girl, Booger. Every day is a gift, so we're just enjoying her golden months, maybe golden years if we're lucky, and just making every day positive. And if you're new here, hi, welcome. We're here for you every week, all things Corgi and pet parent lifestyle. We try to guide you through where to get your puppy if you want one. We're always pro rescue here. We are going to recommend that you rescue if you're available to, if you're willing to. I've rescued several myself.
Rescue, rehome.
Take on rehomes. Yeah. Yes. So we're always very pro rescue here. If you want a puppy, there's no shame in that. Please come to us so we can guide you on what questions to ask, because part of the problem with the swelling, as I'll call in rescues and shelters, is that they're not coming from the right place. And the overbreeding is causing shelters to be full and rescues to be inundated with a lot of behavior cases, because temperament is a very important thing, as well as health and genetic testing. So we're happy to guide you. Please reach out to us. We will never be incentivized by any breeding program.
Nope.
Will we make specific recommendations? Only if we're asked that specific question, and that is solely based on what we believe in. Meanwhile, we're just going to give you the questions to ask. These are what you want to ask, and these are the kind of answers you're looking for, and that's how we guide you.
Exactly.
But if you're willing to rescue, we certainly hope you are. It's definitely a rewarding process. It doesn't come without challenges. But most of you, our dear listener, dear viewer, are familiar with Queen's Best Stumpy Dog Rescue in Southern California. And Susan, the founder, has joined us before, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that. Should we bring her on?
Absolutely.
Susan, welcome back. We're so grateful to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to tell anyone, again, I think most of our audience is familiar, but please tell everyone about Queen's Best, the work you do, and your mission.
Yeah, so Queen's Best Stumpy Dog Rescue, we have a sanctuary facility in Acton, California, down in Southern California. And we basically just help the underdogs, the little misfits, those that have medical issues or behavioral issues and need a little bit more time and help. And we just give them a safe haven and rehabilitate them however we can, and then find them the forever home if they're able to be adopted out.
And we love you for it.
Yes.
Yeah, it takes a lot. I mean, it takes a lot. We talk about like compassion fatigue, and then like how self-care for you and your volunteers, how important that is to get that balance, right?
Very, very important.
Yeah. I mean, I can imagine that you stay tired a lot.
Yeah, I was saying burnout is real.
Yes.
Being overwhelmed is real. Feeling really just exhausted. It takes everything in you.
Yep. Because it's an emotional thing as well as a physical thing, and
mental and spiritual,
it's all of the things.
Yeah.
And self-care is so important for each and every one of us. And if we practice self-care a little bit more, it would be a better world. And especially for everyone who works with our beautiful fur babies.
Well, and compassion for others, and empathy. These are all very important things.
Yes.
So we thought we'd have, I don't want to call it a sticky conversation, but there is an ugly side of rescue. And it's not so much not that the people are ugly, but the ugly side is what the volunteers, the people that are out there helping, kind of deal with.
Yep.
And so Susan is so kind to come on and kind of bring perspective to that, because you guys at Queen's Best do so much work. And I know you don't take surrenders anymore, right?
No.
Right.
No,
so
we're not taking any dogs at the sanctuary right now. We will only be able to help dogs if we have foster families.
Okay, yeah. And the problem with that is there are too many. The need far supersedes the resources.
Mhm.
And the resources are lovely, beautiful, caring people like yourself. And then, of course, the financials that come along with that and the needed energy, time, and attention that these dogs need, where essentially humans have failed them. So, what I wanted to talk about is kind of, if you're, dear viewer, dear listener, if you're considering fostering or rescuing, please do. Please do. We all need your help. But also, we want you to be mindful of what you're taking on. We don't want to scare
Yes.
you out of it at all. We want you to be here. We're here to support you. And Kat and I are always happy to answer questions.
Yes.
If it's a corgi question or behavioral question, I'm a obedience trainer, so I'm always happy to give tips if you have one that you're not quite sure, you're not getting through to them on the communication with your dog. But we want to keep dogs in homes as much as possible, and that's part of our mission here. And then also that they come from the right place. And we are always happy to help, but we want to talk about when you rescue and foster. And Susan, if you can kind of speak to this, if we're asking someone to be mindful on what they're taking on, the bottom line is that the actions that we take as people have a ripple effect and they affect others. So
Mhm.
if you'd be so kind to kind of share with us your perspective on that and maybe some examples of things that happen sometimes when things are not thought through.
Yeah. Ooh.
I know I got like bloody on us. I'm sorry.
Just jump right
I
in.
did.
I mean, let's just talk about the need for fosters.
Yeah.
I think anytime any organization, any rescue organization, every shelter, fosters are the backbone of what allow dogs and cats and all animals to be rescued.
Yes.
Foster families are the volunteers that are opening up their home and their hearts to putting in the work to be able to give an animal an opportunity. One, to not be euthanized for space at the shelter, as well as an opportunity to understand them better in a home environment so that you can best help them find a home.
Yep.
And I think a majority of the times when shelters are looking for fosters and rescues are looking for fosters, it's usually a pretty urgent situation, so that you're preventing a dog from losing their life. And in those moments, very emotional decisions can be made.
Mm.
So the desire to want to save a life can lead to impulsive decisions. And those are the things that we get to talk about and really think through. Where if you say that you want to foster, if somebody says they want to foster, that they really need to be committed in the mindset of, I get to do whatever needs to be done to help this being.
Yep.
It's an I get to. It really is an
Yes.
I get to. And that you're thinking about what gets to be done for them, and not what feels good for us. Um, I think it's easy to say, yes, I want to foster, and then take them on because it feels good to say yes. And then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, this is way more work than I thought. Then I don't want to do this anymore.
Right.
And by making that impulsive decision, an emotional decision, and then changing your mind and backpedaling on it, it ends up creating even more work, for the rescue organization, for the shelter, because then you have to go through an entire process of looking for a foster again. And it's a lot of stuff that shouldn't have to happen, but it does happen on a pretty regular basis. So, whatever we can do to kind of, I guess, talk about that stuff and open up the dialogue of what a responsible foster looks like, and what types of questions get to be answered to set somebody up for
Mhm.
success. Let's tackle that stuff.
And that's unfortunately, is it common to have that where you have a volunteer maybe that takes on and then didn't kind of realize until they sort of got into the thick of it? Would you say that's common or?
Mhm. Oh, yeah. I
Okay.
think that's very common. I think it's common to get foster offers and people say they want to foster, and then not want to go through the steps of what it means to become a basically an approved foster.
Yep.
So that means like going through the application process, going through the interview process, going through the home check, you know, asking all the questions and getting into the conversations of how would you handle something if this happened? and going through all of those so that we really are clear that somebody is ready. Even that stuff people don't really want to go through. So
Right.
we've had many situations before in the past where we could get maybe, 5, 6, 7 foster offers, and then we wait for foster applications to come in, and then foster applications don't come in. So the whole cycle
Right.
starts from the very beginning again of, hey, we need a foster. Somebody offers to foster. Awesome. Are you going to put in your application? Cool. Hey, we haven't gotten your application yet. What happened
Right.
to the offer? This animal that you wanted to help out is still waiting. So all of that.
Yeah, I would say as a foster parent for Maricopa County here in Phoenix, I would say go ahead, and if you're thinking of fostering, put in the application. And that's what I did. I put in the application early. Don't put in the application when there's an urgent need. By the way, there's an urgent need constantly.
Yeah.
However, put in the application first.
Mhm.
Give yourself time first to go through the process. I didn't have to go through, because it's Maricopa County, I didn't have to go through nearly the process that a rescue has the ability to do. There are constrictions
Focused,
with it.
more
Yeah,
focused.
more
on
focused. There are
rescue
more
first.
constrictions. Fewer constrictions with the government agency. And still, the end result is I got a mama and a bunch of her babies in my house, so I better know what the heck to do.
Mhm.
And but if you are considering fostering, and I'm saying this from a foster mama's perspective, fill out the paperwork first, because it's time consuming. There's a lot of questions. You've got to go through your
It's
own
like
house.
that for a reason.
Yeah, it's like that for a reason.
Yeah.
And I had to go through my own house, and I had to kind of really look at my animals and say, will they be accepting? Let me know my animals. Let me see what they're going to do. So it is a time consuming process.
Mhm.
Don't look at a picture and go, oh, I want to foster. Boom. Why aren't you putting this dog in my house, this cat in my house, this, whatever in my house? Go through the paperwork process. Take it from me. Go through the paperwork process. Take a breath. And then when an opportunity arises, you're ready.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think be pragmatic. It's a multifaceted thing you're tackling.
Yeah.
And I hate to use too many broad generalities, but I believe, and I know, Susan, in your case, very much so, most of the time, if a dog is in rescue shelter, there's going to be a backstory of how they got there. And there's a high possibility that we have some behavioral things that need to be addressed, some health things that need to be addressed.
Yep.
It's less often that you have a happy, healthy, go lucky dog that's obedient and easy to take care of and low maintenance that winds up in rescue shelter. It happens, but it's less likely. So you can be taking on any number of variables that is out of your control. How on point am I with that, Susan?
Pretty on point with that.
Okay.
With all of that too, I think the great thing about becoming a foster for a rescue organization, I'll speak for the way we're operating. We want to have an established foster team. So foster homes that have already put in their application and gone through the interview process and the home check and have been approved as foster homes to be on standby, so that when a dog is in need, a dog already has a place to go.
Yes.
And so that's what we would like to build up. And if they're fostering a dog that's been with the organization, then the great thing there is there's already information on the dog. Like all of our sanctuary dogs and all the dogs that are residents here, I can tell you everything I know about them and figure out, okay, what foster home is going to be best for them and place them in the home that's going to be best suited for them. And so there's a lot of options of how people can help. It's just a matter of whether or not people are going to be patient enough and be willing to go through the process. It is an inconvenience. It's not meant to be easy. There's a reason why, it's meant to be an inconvenience, but it's a worthy inconvenience. It's something that helps a living being have an opportunity. And anybody that's ever brought an animal into their home knows how much they give back to you. So just as much as you're giving to them, they're giving back to you tenfold.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I know it's making me think about all my rescues. My little booger senior, she's my last rescue I've had, and we're on borrowed time with her. It's she's essentially on long-term hospice care. So, but yeah, I mean, I think about her life before and what she went through, and she's had it pretty good the last decade that she's been with me. But preceding that, the things I say all the time, people are both the best and worst thing to happen to animals.
Yep.
And so what you're saying, I love what you're saying, and I think it's important to earmark that. And we've had Melissa from East Coast Corgi Rescue on the show a couple times, and they kind of focus on our region, and No Queen's Best does as well. But part of the problem with, I don't want to call it a problem, but part of the challenge with specific rescue groups, because you were talking about shelter versus rescue,
Right.
And like just a county rescue, that it's specific rescue groups, they do have focused volunteers. They know their breed specific, the breed proclivities when it comes to behavior, the health issues that they're prone to, the health issues that they're prone to when they didn't come from good situations. So what things genetically to look for. There's so much to it that is focused.
Right.
And I think that part of the challenge that comes with rescues, and I've heard it from many of our rescue friends, that they'll get reached out to, maybe fill out an application, they don't get chosen for whatever reason, or maybe not yet, and they get impatient, and then they go and they get a puppy from a not so great breeder or any situation because they didn't want to wait, they were ready, they decided they wanted their puppy, and all the stars aligned that way for them to get one. And it happens, unfortunately, kind of often where that puppy doesn't end up staying in that home. Because that same sort of impulsivity that you were talking about, Susan, kind of happens with that. Well, I want what I want. I want it now.
Right.
I'm going to go get it, and you're not going to work with me. And so the complaint is, well, your process was so arduous. And I think the part about that gets missed is that if you are able to get even a puppy or a rescue so easily without many questions, that should give you pause.
Right.
Because the source of where you're getting that animal is either, maybe if it's county, they're overloaded. So you're probably
county
not
is
gonna
overloaded, and county has restrictions in that they can't be restrictive.
Right. They come in, they've got to get them out. But when it comes to a rescue or even a breeder, I mean, even a breeder should be vetting you. A breeder should be vetting you to be sure. If they're not vetting you, that is not a great breeder.
Right.
Because they're not caring about what happens to that animal.
That's
So I feel like it's important to be said that those things, not like you said, Susan, I love that you said don't approach with impulsivity.
Right.
Take a breath, look at things in all these different facets. Again, there's so many of us out here that have rescue fostered, that are work for the voice of the animals, that are happy to answer questions. And if you are considering fostering, reach out. What's the process? What I think it's going to be, Susan, like you said, it's going to be more than you probably thought at the beginning, right?
But I think that's in any situation. Fostering is going to be way more than you thought. Getting a puppy is like, what? You have a furry newborn.
Yeah.
So I think the idea of things is always going to be what draws people in, and it becomes romanticized. But let's talk about the reality. Once the animal is in your care, things are not going to go perfectly.
No.
It never is. But how are you going to handle things?
Right.
And when it comes to just the overpopulation of animals in general, if we're being impatient and basically just being impatient and saying, well, that took too long, and going out and buying a puppy instead, and then, like you said, Candy, there's a good chance that puppy will probably end up in the system in a year or two, then you've just continually added to the problem. And so it's an endless cycle of where not enough fosters are available, and then everybody wants a puppy. They go and buy a puppy, and then the puppy ends up in the system. And then now another foster is essentially needed for that puppy, but no foster comes forward. It just keeps building up and building up.
Right.
So I think if anybody that wants to, or even has considered fostering, the question I always want to ask is why? What's your why? And if the why is wanting to help save a life, and that's your value, believing in rescue over buying, then stay rooted and grounded in that, because there is never not a need for foster families. There's never not a need for a dog to, or a cat, any animal that you choose, to need a second chance, to need somebody that will be their guardian and
Yep.
that will be able to think of them before their own emotional wants and desires of like a puppy. I want a puppy. That's all me, me, me. Like when can we start to let go of the selfish decisions so that we can give back to these guys that really need us? So with what you were saying, Kat, if you have ever thought about fostering, foster, put in the
Yeah.
application, be on standby. That would help so many organizations, that would help so many shelters, and it would reduce this need of constantly putting out these urgent pleas.
Exactly. And I know, so just in the last 2 weeks, we took in just for a few days because somebody had to go out of town, unfortunately. And it happens. It happens. The family was called to Germany, of all things, for a family emergency. So we took on a long-haired Chihuahua and her 6 babies. I've never, ever seen puppies. They were days old. Never seen puppies so tiny in my life.
Their eyes probably weren't even open
No,
yet.
their eyes were absolutely not open. And it happens that emergencies happen and there's quickly another foster. So we only had her for a week. We've had fosters for 2 months because we take mama and babies. Sometimes we just take babies because mama's rejected them. Right now we have oh my God, we love him. We have a little baby and you can work with them more. I will be honest. It's just him. It's just him. So we get to play with him more and everything.
More focused than the litter.
More focused than,
yeah, I'd imagine.
Yeah, much less poop. And he will be with us. I took him letting the county know on this day we are going out of town. And I want him back before don't keep him in the shelter. I have my schedule opened. He will come back with us. I'm very absolute about how I like my fosters handled. He will come back with us until he has to get his surgery, spayed and neutered. And then I keep them and I adopt them out from my home for the county. I adopt them out from my
So
home.
you can meet everybody and
I meet everybody. I discourage people. I get on the phone with people and I discourage them.
Well, you tell them the rough parts.
I tell them I tell them the
Yeah.
truth. And so it
You have
it
pretty
goes.
good success rate with that. You've had maybe 2 come back to you.
I had 2 come back to me.
Yeah.
One came back because the woman had gotten home and just gotten an email. I totally understand this. Had just gotten an email about a surgery that she had been waiting on, and it was impossible, and she was devastated. Another one, she took the mama and she took the baby, and I was very hesitant about that. And then I found out by calling her, and I check up on my fosters, on my forever families. I found out that she'd brought the mama back, and I specifically ask every single one
Come back to you.
Call me. This is my number. Whatever happens, call me. Within the week, I had her adopted out again to a personal friend of ours who is madly in love with her.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and we did have a third one come back.
But this is out of probably 50, 75. You've done a lot.
I don't know if we about 50. Yeah, we've done. Another one came back, and I personally interviewed them. I keep up with my forever families. I'll text them, hey, send me pictures. I really miss them. Blah blah, because I want to know. I want to know that.
You're voyeuring.
Yeah, I'm voyeuring. P.S. Dear listener, dear viewer, you don't have to do what I do. I'm psycho. We know that.
Oh, only in the best way.
But only in the best way.
Yeah.
Have this stuff all ready I have a room ready before they even started to send me little emails that say, hey, we need a mama for this or a mama for that.
You're cocked and loaded.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm all ready to go.
Yeah. But that's, I mean, again, it's the same thing, you know, Susan, like you were saying, it's you make sure everybody's committed. That's what all the questions are for fosters.
Mhm.
That's what all the questions are for when you're adopting out. There are so many things to consider. And I think the message here is that decisions we make affect these lives.
Mm-hmm.
And first and foremost, they affect the lives of these dear animals that we have to be their voice. We have to advocate for them. They can't advocate for themselves.
No.
And that's all of our why that does this. I keep saying our, I haven't been fostering. I don't do nearly the work that Susan does for sure, or Kat, but I have rescued. And it's just, we all care so much about these animals and we want to put them first. And we just want to be sure that if you're listening and you're considering this, to consider all angles, because if you do decide, if you're not firm on that decision, not only does it affect the baby, but it also affects the many humans that do work in this realm.
Right. And it affects the other fosters because, you know, if I've got to take in this foster, then I can't take in that foster, you know, or whatever. Susan, I want to ask you a question. Well, that's what we're here doing, right? I'm not sure if I want to foster.
Mm-hmm.
What other opportunities do I have to get to know what's involved truly? Because I didn't, as much as I knew what was involved and as much as I have friends that foster, I didn't know what was involved.
It's not the same as baptism by fire.
Yeah. So I don't know. What else can I do? How else can I help? Yeah, I can write you a check, but what else can I do?
Volunteer. It's literally any way of being able to get involved. There's some way. So if you cannot physically take in an animal into your home to foster, then volunteer and give some of your time to an animal. If you can't physically be present to give your time to an animal, then give your time towards fundraising so that the organization is being helped in that way. Give your time by sharing their posts, helping network the dogs, promoting the organization that you're supporting. There's like so many different opportunities to be able to help to some capacity. It's just a matter of whether or not you want to, whether or not you choose to.
Yeah. So I would encourage people, at the very least, repost.
Mm-hmm.
At the very least, repost. You're doom scrolling anyway. Your thumb's going like this anyway. Repost. Go down. Just be at the shelter, the rescue, whatever. Go down there, and if you're not sure, I can take this dog for a walk. I don't know if I have fill up the water buckets.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
work to your commitment level. I think. Is what you're saying. Yeah.
And you don't have to have a baptism by fire. You can just go there and
it's a good way to ease into it.
Yeah,
that's a much better way to ease into it than saying, yes, I'll take this on, and then deciding not to when people have taken steps.
Exactly. So like we have our organization, we do hikes twice a month.
Yeah.
Always encouraging people, come out to the hikes, talk to the other volunteers, talk to the other foster families, ask the questions so that you can understand what their experience has been.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to actually get involved, you can meet people who are involved.
Right.
And just come to the hike and walk a dog first. Every dog needs to get out. Every dog needs exercise. They love hiking adventures. So participate in that. Take them on a little hike. Come out and give them brushings, wash them, help with keeping their kennels clean, help with folding laundry and things like that. There's always something to do.
Exactly. I'm fortunate enough. My good dear friend Mindy fosters, and so just hanging out with her, I got to experience what it was, and it's not always easy. Mm-hmm. And she continues to do it. And
so hang out with your foster friends. That's
hang out with your foster friends. Find out, who your foster friends are. Hang out with them. My other dear friend Angie actually runs a rescue in northern Arizona, and so everybody's over there. And I got to experience what she goes through, and I'm fortunate she was able to talk me through it, as was Mindy. So I have support as a foster parent. And I got eased into it. I got to hang out with Mindy and hang out with the Fosters. I get to talk to Angie and
You get to see the
understand.
good, the bad, the
I
ugly.
get to see the good, the
Yeah,
bad, the ugly.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's good advice.
I think depending on who you're fostering for too,
Mm-hmm.
the support you receive is important as well. So I think there's a lot of times where somebody can say, yes, they want to foster, and then the animal gets placed with them. And then from there, it's like, whoa, they never hear from anybody ever again.
Yep.
So if that's the type of organization that is running that type of foster program, then that's not how we're working. But that is, I can imagine, is not going to create as pleasant of an experience. I think it's so important for foster families to have the tools and training as well as supplies. Literally everything should be kind of handed to them on a silver platter and through everything. And we're just asking that they help provide the labor of everything. The labor of taking care of the dog, the labor of taking them on walks, of bringing them to their vet appointments, of socializing them, of doing their training and things like that to best set them up for success. And so it's making sure the animal gets set up for success, and then the human gets set up for success as well.
That's huge. And I have to say, that's the part that I love the most. So it is not a foster fail. We very specifically said yes to Calabria and her puppies. And I knew beforehand that we were adopting her because she is an Australian cattle dog, which is my husband's favorite. And with so many of the mamas, because they're found out in the wild, as it were, they have some behavioral issues.
They're not used to living around humans.
They're not used to living around humans. Dear listener, dear viewer, as you know, work with Bach flower remedies. And that brings me joy and really good stories. But it brings me joy to, and Maricopa County knows, to work with the dogs, to use these homeopathic remedies, to work with the dogs and bring their level. And for those listening, I've got my hands way up here to bring that stress level, that anxiety level down.
Bring them away from threshold.
Bring them away from threshold. And it's a tool that I use. It's a tool that I'm really good at. And so that
brings
one of your
me
gifts
joy.
It's one of my gifts. And I love to see the difference. We had a runner who was afraid when I would take the broom out to sweep the kitchen floor. She was terrified and she wouldn't go near people and she would just bolt. And we went from that to her forever family sat down, put out their hand. She went up to it. She wasn't afraid of every time I swept the kitchen. I kind of like that, though. It was an excuse. And that brings me joy. So if you're out there considering doing this, what's going to bring you joy, and ride on that?
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
But definitely consider the commitment that you're making, and please be mindful that the decisions you make affect others. It affects the animal, and it affects those that work with the animal. And I know I can speak. We have a waiting list. So if you don't know, people reach out to me and say what area they're in and if they're looking for a Corgi or a Corgi mix. And what I do is I bridge that gap and say, okay, there's one in this shelter here. This rescue group has one. This is from a rehoming website. Here's the information. I have noticed a little bit of a trend of, okay, cool. Can you put me in touch? I was like, no, I'm sending you the information because you said you were in this area and I knew where it was. So I just want to bring that up too, that's kind of part of commitment level too. Well, if you want the pup, you need to do the work to kind of find the pup and go reach out and get the pup. I'm just showing you where they are.
Yeah.
I have too many things going on. Then I would love to just say, here's the loving dog. Let me put them in your hands if you're capable, but I don't have the resources to do that. So it's me showing you, if you really want the pup, you have to take the steps. It's, Susan, like you said, it is work. All of it's work. It's just ultimately very rewarding work.
It is. It's very rewarding, and it's just the necessary stuff.
Yeah.
If you're renting a car, there's a contract that you have to sign. If you want a job, there's an application that you get to submit. If you want a dog or an animal, you also get to submit an application. To share a recent fairly recent and rather frustrating experience. We were looking for a foster for one of our dogs that currently is in a foster home. Wonderful foster home, taking amazing care of her. And in the end, it worked out perfectly that it went in this direction. But the home that we were interviewing before then was, we were going through the back and forth of all of the communications. And the part that was most frustrating on my end for me was this home kept saying that they were committed to fostering her. And they kept saying that they were committed to fostering her. And the whole time I'm like, but where is your application?
Mm-hmm.
Where is your application? I'm still waiting on your application. Okay, if you're not going to submit it, then we're moving on. No, we want to foster her. Okay, but we still need your application. You're getting pissed off at us that this dog is still at the shelter, but we're waiting on you. So what is it going to be? Because if this is how it's going to be, then please stop wasting our time, and please stop wasting the dog's time too, because their time is now running limited.
Mm-hmm. And respect the process.
Exactly. Respect the process. There is a process for a reason. So you have to do the work. As I can't go off anything else other than you have to do the work. They are relying on us to do the work. If we do not do the work, then who will?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it all comes from a good place, all of this. I mean, we know the intent comes from a good place when someone steps forward like that. But again, it's, you have to have the commitment and be willing to put the work behind it. But all of the sort of, I hate to call it scrutiny, but you have to scrutinize anybody who comes in for a puppy.
Yeah.
Susan, you guys have to scrutinize anybody who comes and says, I want a Corgi or I want to foster a Corgi. The scrutiny comes from, we are their voice.
Mm-hmm.
So how many times do you hear a horrible, terrible, awful story on the news about a foster child, about a foster home for a child?
Like a human?
A human child. And you know, oh my gosh, how did that happen? How did they do this? How did blah, blah, oh, why, blah, blah. That's why there's a process. That's why there's a process. And yeah, sometimes the process doesn't always work, but there has to be a process. And it is the same with an animal. It is the same with an animal. And sometimes, sadly, people think, it's just an animal. You know,
well, our people don't think that.
Our people don't think that. I'm talking about
everyone listening here.
I'm talking about when you see it on the news. Like you feel, not everybody, but that's really horrible. It has to be, for people, my experience, for people to get all enraged about a bad animal situation, it's got to be a bad animal situation.
Or highly publicized.
Yeah. And then, you know, and I'm not saying, we all know how I feel about children, but I'm not saying anything less of children. It's a joke. Mm-hmm. We see that there's a process, and then we wonder how the process failed. And then yet when we see that there's a process for animals, we're like, oh my God, why do we have to
Why is there such a process?
Why is there such a process? And
sure.
They're all living, feeling, sentient beings who all deserve our love and, most importantly, our protection.
And hopefully they will, in the eyes of the law, be seen that way. And that's a whole other episode that we've done. Well, Susan, thank you so much. We know that you have so much going on, and we really appreciate you coming to take the time and help educate everybody. Any final thoughts?
If you want to foster, we need foster homes.
Please apply.
Yeah, please apply. I'm really, really proud of how we try to set up our foster families for success.
Yeah.
So if anybody does opt to foster with us, you will be set up with tools that will not only help support the dog that goes into your care, but it's knowledge that you can take on to help any dog thereafter that comes into your life.
And this is within the Southern California area, right? You have a mileage radius?
We're sticking to basically all of Southern California. We have Northern California as well.
Okay.
But we're really looking at how we can sort of open things up a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because of the dogs that we currently have directly in our care at the moment, it is necessary that everybody goes through training. They need to be set up for success. They can't go down the same path that sent them to the shelter to begin with, or cause them to lose their home to begin with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If you're
absolutely.
interested in fostering, please come learn. Join us at a hike. We have awesome volunteers and foster families that would be able to share their experiences there, and just sort of give you the real breakdown of like what to expect. So,
And if you're not in the Southern California or, as you said, Northern California, you do some as well. If you're not in that area,
Get involved locally.
get involved locally. If you don't know where, get in touch with Candy and I.
Yeah,
And
we have the resources.
we
can
have the
connect you.
resources, and
go to your local shelter. Every
absolutely.
shelter needs help. Every single shelter. Every single rescue group needs help.
So
So
you're not going to be turned away
No.
unless, you're not going to be turned away for some type of help. Yeah.
Right. I mean, even here in Maricopa County, we have take a dog for a day. So you get to, it's like me with my nieces and nephews when they were little. I got to take them for the day. I got to play with them. I got to be the cool Aunt Catherine. And then I got to give them back to their parents. And even that helps. So
Kim from Good Vibes Dogtography, she's a dog photographer. She does that. She'll
Yeah.
go to the shelter and she'll take them for a day. She'll take a bunch of pictures and then they'll have fun and get pup cups. And yeah, it's a great idea.
So there is something you can do.
Mhm.
And there are too many people on social media complaining about what the shelters are doing, complaining about what the rescues are doing.
That's only if you see it. You choose not to see it.
I choose not
not to see it. But
go do something.
without getting too far in the weeds, I will share in the description box of both the YouTube episode as well as this audio where to follow Queen's Best Stumpy Dog Rescue.
Mhm.
And you have the application on the website. So I will drop that in there as well. Please click the link. Read the questions. Like Susan was saying, be sure that you're up to that commitment level. Read the questions, say, can I do this? Am I equipped to do this? Look through them. Fill out an application. Love to have your help on fostering.
Special interests, like you said, Kat, there's certain types of temperaments or certain behaviors that you like to work with. If
Yeah.
you have a special interest, there's always something to work with. There's always some being that needs that type of specialized care.
Yeah.
And there's always some capacity to help.
We
That's
just
right.
talked to the Signing D, the sign language corgi was on the show, and the family is talking about adopting a deaf
Mhm.
dog, because they know sign, and their corgi that can hear learn sign. So now they know how to train with sign language. So yeah, good example. All kinds of different special interests and lots of special needs pups out there.
And at the very worst case scenario, pull out your checkbook. Just pull out your checkbook.
Cat's like, send money.
Send money.
That's
Send lawyers, guns, and monies. Keep the lawyers and the guns.
No pew-pews.
Send-
No pew-pews.
send-
Get shadow banned on YouTube. No
Yeah.
pew-pews.
Sponsor. We finally have something up on our website now where you can sponsor specific treatments. So if you want to sponsor a dog and get them their yearly dental, then you can do that. If you want to get them their yearly vaccinations, their yearly set of x-rays, there's some capacity of being able to give to something specific.
And that's a great way to help if you don't have the time resources or energy resources. If you can buy one of the dogs some shots or get them some treatment. Yeah, that's a great way to do it.
That's huge.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Susan. I'll share those links down in the description box. It is a little bit of a call to action. We would love your help. Help is needed.
We need help. So yes, please, everybody support with some action. Everybody needs assistance. So
you are helping some precious little lives and their precious caregivers.
That's right.
Yeah.
Thank
you, Susan. Please tell all the little puppies and doggies that they're good boys and girls, and we love them. And thank you for the work you're doing.
He was told all morning that he was a good boy. He did so great with his potential today. So we're really excited.
Potential. Pause together.
Pause together.
Pause together. Thank you so much, Susan. Please have a good rest of your evening.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, it's another heartfelt episode. So I get to ride in the field.
I know. Yay.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please consider clicking the link, looking through to see if you're available to foster. And as Kat said, if you're not in the Southern California area, please look to your local rescue shelters, see what kind of help they need, see if you can help. It's very needed, and you are helping us save lives. And if you liked this episode, please like and subscribe. Join us. We're here for you every week, all things Corgi and pet parent lifestyle. I'm Candy. In my lap is Chuckles, our spokescorg. And of course, we have Mortimer Barnabas, Tito Bandito, Booger the Senior, and Cat.
Okay, I'm Catherine, and I have Calabria and Digby.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.